Do you ever feel that you are presenting and you're not able to communicate even 80% of your expertise? Maybe you are able to communicate as someone who is at a level of maybe 20% of your expertise. Do you ever have situations where you are in a room and you feel that people are not really respecting you? They're not really listening. And when you say something brilliant, you know it's brilliant. Everyone is ignoring you, but then someone else repeats what you just said. And everyone says, this is such a great idea, let's do it. One of the reasons this is happening is because you are in your own life right now is not the main character. You are a secondary character in your own life. And this is how you present yourself to the world. This is how you carry yourself, and your body language and what you say and how you say it. All of those things communicates to the world, to people who have met you before, to people who are meeting you for the first time, that you are not somebody they should pay attention to. And this is not your fault. This is not something that you are at fault for up to this point. This is happening because of how we grew up. Many of us had difficult childhoods where we were told, if we are lucky, the worst of what we experienced was being told that what we are saying is not very smart, or we should keep quiet, we should not speak loud, know your place. That is a phrase that I heard a lot growing up. And if we are less lucky, we may have grew up in an abusive household where if you say something, you may be beaten up. Or even if you don't say anything, you may be beaten up. And of course, then we go to school, and generally school is not the most caring environment, and a lot of things that are tolerated in school should not be tolerated by adults in terms of what children are exposed to, bullying and so on, discrimination, disrespectful behavior from teachers. I had a teacher in my school. She was teaching history, and she actually hit one boy so hard with a book on his head that he had a concussion and had to be hospitalized. And this is what happens. We are surrounded by people who put us down, and as children, we don't really have enough of understanding of how to handle those situations. And they become foundation for beliefs that later on in life make us feel that we are not the main character of our own movie. We don't take space, we sit like this, and we speak in a way that clearly shows to people that we don't think of ourselves as the main character. So what does that mean? To start thinking of yourself as the main character. First of all, consider switching from thinking about life as this is an overall movie that everyone is watching, and I'm just a tiny person that is trying to survive, and start looking at it as this is my movie. My life is my movie, and I am the main hero of that movie. And in every room I enter, I am the main hero. Sometimes in that scene of a movie, I am an intern at a management consulting firm, and I need to behave according to certain standards, but I am still the main character. Not the senior partner, not the senior consultant, not the manager, not somebody who is putting me down or looking down at me because I'm just an intern. Or maybe it is a situation where you are a business person and you have a relatively successful business. You have a team that you're employing. You're providing livelihood for multiple people across the world who are working for you. And you have clients all over the world who are grateful for you and for the work that you're producing. But obviously, there are other business people who are much more successful if we are evaluating success in terms of who is making more money per year. If in that situation, you look at life in terms of, okay, there's this overall movie and I'm this tiny person who runs this tiny business. And when I'm in a room with this other person who is much more successful, I should be small. I should not take up their time. I should not even talk to them. Or you can have a mindset that it's a movie scene. I am in this networking event and there's another person there and I am the main character of my movie. And in this particular moment in the movie, my character is running a business that is relatively successful, but not yet as successful as a business of that other person. But it doesn't mean that 10 years down the line, we are not going to be at the same level, or maybe I will have a business that will have even greater impact, level of contribution, and higher revenue than business of this other person. And when we look at situation that way, when it is our movie and we are the main character, and there's this scene where we are at a networking event and we think that it will be really nice to try to get to know this person. And we realize that this other person is just another human being with their own problems. And in some ways, for them, we may be much more successful in some areas of life, and maybe they can learn something from us too. Maybe then you will feel much more comfortable coming to them as one human coming to another human and say, "Hi, my name is Chris. How do you know the organizer of the event?" And start the conversation and see how you can be of value to them. And then maybe they will also give you some advice, or you will generate some insights just by observing how they speak about their business, how they think about the world, how they behave when they speak to other people. Can you see how you will get much more out of life and be much more successful and much more impactful communicator if you start seeing yourself as the main character of the movie and not the secondary character, and definitely not an extra? Imagine how sad it is that there are people who are working on this earth right now who are not just seeing themselves as the main character of their movie, and they are not even the secondary character. They're not best friend, they're not a colleague in a movie, they're not a secondary character, they are an extra. They see life as this big movie, and they are just an extra. They are insignificant, not important, should not take any space in the room when they are in the room, should not create any problems for anyone. And I'm not saying that we should be creating problems for anyone. But if somebody, for example, hurting us, then we need to get ourselves out of that situation instead of trying to focus on, okay, I'm nobody and I'm lucky that I have any relationship, versus understanding, look, I'm the main character of this movie and my character is in a difficult situation and I need to get myself out of that situation. To me, it is very sad that there are people out there right now who are thinking of themselves, behaving, communicating as a secondary character or even an extra. And I see it with clients. We run a program called Speak Without Limits. It's a membership, and we get together with clients on a weekly basis and work together closely, applying specific methodology that we teach, myself and another very powerful coach from our company, strategytraining.com. And it is difficult sometimes for me to see incredibly successful people coming in and they're communicating as a secondary character. They're not taking any space. Their body language, their choice of words, how they speak, what they say, all communicates that they are a secondary character. And as a result, the world treats them that way. Whatever you think you are worth, there will be people who will abuse that. That's why also people who grew up in very difficult circumstances often end up in relationships where they are abused as an adult because they are used to it. And in a way, on subconscious level, they think that that is what love is because, for example, they had abusive parent. And people communicating as a secondary character doesn't always have anything to do with being abused. And it can definitely be fixed. And while I feel a little sad when I see it, I also feel so excited that I know I can fix that. I know if I work with this client, and I know now we are working together if they're part of the membership, I know that it can be fixed. And it is amazing to see how people change, how they start speaking very differently because the voice is already there. Think of it as what you say, how you say it, the richness of your voice, the power of your soul is there if you believe it. Or you can think of it in terms of your experiences, your knowledge, all of that that you're bringing to the table. All of it is there, but it is often blocked by things that happen to us early in life. And then we end up positioning ourselves as somebody who is not worthy of good treatment, of respect, of attention. And if we position ourselves that way, of course, people will take advantage of it or not take advantage of it, but just treat you the way you think you should be treated. And the change starts inside by making a decision that I'm taking attention away from everything else, wherever I send attention to. I'm taking it back to myself in a good way, because attention is energy. It's your life source. And I'm now the main character of my movie. And every time I'm communicating to somebody, I am the main character of my movie. Now my character is speaking to the neighbor. Now my character is speaking to their spouse in the movie. Now my character is speaking to their mother. But I am the main character. The movie is running and I'm the main character of that movie. And notice, just with that small mindset change, or maybe not so small, you will start showing up differently. Of course, it is one thing to understand something, and it is another thing to have disciplined, diligent implementation journey that allows you to rewire your brain and acquire new habits of how you're showing up in the world. And this is when working with a guide is really helpful. And you are very welcome to work with me. You can apply, write to us. I will leave details below. But the bottom line is just making a decision that you are the main character will change how you communicate, will change how you show up, will change how people perceive you, what people think about you, how much they pay attention, how much they listen to you when you speak. Yes, there are a lot of other things that come with the methodology that we teach. And it is a very powerful methodology that can change how you sound, how your face moves when you speak, and how people perceive you, to the point that people may think that you are another person, that you actually have a twin, and it's not you. But even making small change in mindset goes a long way. The bottom line, and as I often say, it's important to remember that however you are speaking right now, however people perceive you in a way that you don't want them to perceive you, that can be changed. It is not fixed. Many people think that it is fixed, that how they speak is fixed, that they're just not lucky, that you are born with charisma, that you are born to be influential, that some people are just born to be the person who is the center of the room. But that is not true. You can become that person. You can become somebody who is much more influential because you were born that way. You were born influential. And then there are things that happened in your life and in my life that started blocking your influence. And then you show up. Imagine you show up wearing a garbage bag, and on top of it, there are multiple other garbage bags, and all of them used to have a lot of garbage inside that smells really badly. And you show up like that, and you expect people to see what is inside, but it's all covered up. You can start removing those layers, those garbage bags that smell really badly, and eventually it will be you, real you, showing up. And for the first time, maybe in your entire life, people will see you, real you, and your power, and what you can do for the world, what you can offer to the world that nobody else can offer, because nobody else has your experiences, your knowledge, your heart, your soul. Nobody, only you. But all of that may be currently blocked. A lot of it may be currently blocked by certain things that happen to you. And those blocks can be removed. You can be just as influential as whatever influential person you're thinking about right now. You were born this way, to be that influential. And even if some people who grow up in exactly the same environment and were never exposed to anything negative that could have created those blocks, even if one would be more charismatic than another, it doesn't mean that you cannot get to that same level or surpass it with the right guide, because there are tools, there are techniques that you can employ, that you can use, that almost nobody in the world knows about, that can completely transform how you speak. For example, you can change how your voice sounds. You may have very beautiful voice and you have no idea because you don't know how to use your vocal instrument. Speaking is not that different from singing. If you know the right technique, which I teach, you can change how you sound, especially for people who have issues, bad habits that were developed in terms of how their voice sound. And by the way, investing time, investing resources in speaking better will have tremendous impact on your life personally and professionally. This is one skill that AI cannot take away. AI cannot sit in front of a client or in front of your boss and build a relationship, present you in the best possible way. Only you can do that. And you are already investing in that skill by watching this. Even just watching this channel will make a huge difference. But of course, with something like voice, with something like communication and executive presence, there are a lot of individual things that cannot be found, understood just from a video on YouTube, but you can pick up some good tips to start the journey of transformation. Yet it does help significantly to have somebody who can work with you and tweak exactly what needs to be tweaked for you, help you find exactly the blocks that you have and help you learn the right methodology. And on top of it, it really helps to have accountability. And not only accountability, but competent accountability, where it's not just somebody making sure that you do the exercises and you are implementing what you're learning and you're using the methodology, but someone who is competent to understand that you are using it correctly. And if you are not using it correctly, which is usually the case, it takes time. It takes a lot of tweaks before someone actually can do it correctly. They can help you. It's like going to the gym and you are exercising. If you are doing the exercises wrong, even if you know the exercises, you can cause trouble. So be careful with that. Be very discerning in selecting the right guide. It doesn't have to be me, but be very careful. And of course, I cannot work with everyone anyway. There are so many hours in the day only. But be discerning. Be discerning when you're selecting somebody who can help you improve your communication and executive presence skills. And I highly recommend investing in that skill. And following this channel will help you significantly because I think I am one of the top people in the world in terms of expertise and level of care I have for you and your ability to improve and the level of care I have when working with clients. And when you are in an environment like that, you can learn a lot if you show up, if you make notes, if you implement. I will leave you with a gift. In a gift, you will find some reasons why people are ignoring someone in a meeting. And once you know what it is, it's much easier to start fixing those issues. And of course, those are some of the common reasons why someone is ignored in a professional environment. And you can also get a document with 25 prompts on how to make better decisions. You can use it with any AI system. And you can download it at firmsconsulting.com/decisions. And lastly, if you're currently looking for another role, I highly recommend the template that we use with our clients. And you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/resume PDF. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this video helpful, if you found value, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. I read all the comments. I reply to all the comments. And if you have any questions, you can email team@firmsconsulting.com and you can apply to be in our membership. Of course, we cannot work with everyone, but I will be very glad to hear from you and see if there is a good mutual fit. And I'm looking forward to see you in the next video.